I think for me, I had a lot of people come up to me and say, a lot of females that came up to me and said, like, thank you for portraying how I feel when I go for a run. So things like the turning the music down, I think was a really big one that impacted people. But the most surprising thing for me was how many men came up to me and said, I just had no idea that that might be how females feel. So I think it was always going to impact the female audience because it kind of tells a story of what a lot of females experience. But for me, the biggest impact that I felt like it had was what it did to the male audience and how they were then shown a side that they've just never actually thought about before, for me.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
As a viewer watching it for the first time, like, had no idea. Like, even like the what do you call it, the takeaway with Pitto going under the railway and you not.
Yeah.
It's like, when I first looked at it, I was like, oh yeah, like, and then after watching it a few times, like, it's actually like pretty eye-opening, like how bad it is for you guys, and sort of the stereotype and the stigma around how we are just naive sometimes as men, because we just go about our day like that normally. But for you guys, you got that sort of, I don't know if it's, that thought in your back of the head, you're not safe. So that sort of, really stood out to me in particular.
Yeah, I was really I was proud of how it came out, because that scenario was sort of how this really hit home for me, because my fiancée Elise runs at 5:30 every morning. Didn't really occur to me until she sort of walked me through this sort of a scenario that she goes through most days. And that sort of clicked for me. And then to be able to portray that so that people had that sort of experience when they watched it and understood that, I thought was really powerful. And the same thing, the amount of women who've spoken to me since and said, you've just really captured what I've got to think about every day. And the amount of men who then said, I've been shown the video off the back of it and it sort of makes sense now. Whereas I'd heard it, I couldn't really comprehend it because it was so different. But to see a visual portrayal of it, it was just so powerful. It really meant a lot.
And I think that's such an important part, you just saying that you had that conversation with your fiancé off the back of it. So, yeah, I think, I watched that and I was a bit taken aback by it, I think, when I saw it, because I was like, wow, like, it's just so well encapsulated what we have to go through. And it's not even just, when you go for a run, it's all the little things, that you're on the phone with, your friends in an Uber, or you're always sharing your location if you're by yourself, travelling. And unfortunately, it's not just at night time and these things are happening anymore. It's, in broad daylight when you should feel safe and you shouldn't have to question when you're running past a man, but you just, for that in case, or this doesn't feel quite right, I'll just cross the road instead. So it was so great to see it and be able to have it trigger those conversations with my brother and my dad, and men with their partners, and the females who are important in their lives was so important.
Yeah, that's what the beauty of the video was. I think it didn't stop once you finished watching the video. It was like, the video was the start of it. And even, it has something visual to attach to the conversations, which was massive.
So the other thing on top of that, like you mentioned, it's not just that 5-minute run.
Yeah.
It's 24 hours of the day.
Yeah.
It's like when you walk into the car for you guys, like just little things like that come to mind after watching that video, like how heightened it is, and I guess the Carlton Respects program, like how important it is to educate the younger generation now, and can we actually turn it on the other way, make it a more comfortable environment and society, so you're not looking over your shoulder every 5 minutes when you're walking out your door, or like you said, crossing a road when you're running past a male or someone you don't know. So hoping that with the program going forward and educating others, we can really sort of get to that point.
Well, that's what, again, like video, like kids are so, these days, like they use technology all the time. So for them they can actually relate to that video rather than, I guess, being told stories. It's like they can kind of see, it's actually an all ages thing, really. They can see a visual of, especially the way they did the video with us, like our stories next to each other. A child, an 8-year-old can look at that and actually comprehend the story it's trying to tell. Yeah,
absolutely.
Which is really powerful. Yeah. I think if we constantly talk about statistics, you can so easily, if it hasn't happened to you, you can so easily say, like, that's not me, or you can. It's hard to relate to, because you can sort of say, I live in this kind of society, or I live in this area in Melbourne, or those sorts of things. But what this did was show, I guess before it gets to that point where it's, you know, the outcomes that we're trying to prevent, it actually just shows the little day-to-day life things that you touched on, Gov, in terms of like the 24-hour focus of it, that there can be things that we just do in our daily lives that we have to think really differently than our male counterparts about. So even the sharing of the location, or even the clothes that I'm wearing in comparison to the clothes that you're wearing, I think that is so much easier for the overall population of females to relate to than sharing stats of the end product that we're trying to prevent. So I think that's why people found it a video that they could really relate to, because it's things that a lot of people have experienced. And I think that's also some of the feedback I had was, I've been in that situation before, whereas some of the statistics you can sometimes sort of say, oh, that's not me, or that wouldn't happen to me. And it feels a little bit too far removed.
Sort of where one of the inaugural teams to sort of do a program like this, but it's more, how many more can we get to follow suit? How many more school programs can we insert this into? And how much more can we educate and, I guess, make it a better and the quality for everyone?
Yeah, definitely echoing what Gov said. Like, I'm so proud that we do have a club that is taking such initiative with it, and I think with the size and the shift following that Carlton has, like, it's so important that we can utilise and leverage, you know, our influence in society to, you know, I guess, influence people who are so devoted and align, I guess, their values, you know, with that of their football club and things like that. So when we have that ability to influence, it's so important. And, you know, a lot of times, you know, we say, you know, we're footballers, you know, and people have that comment, you know, six playing footy and things like that. But I think when we have the ability to make a change and influence things that are so important, like violence against women and gender equality, I think it'd be almost, you know, a waste of that leverage to not do anything. So I'm just, really proud of the club for actioning it and taking a stand for what's right.
I think it's, as you've all put it, it's the things, it's a very day-to-day thing people can relate to. It talks about 24-hour sort of things that women have to do to be safe. And the powerful thing about it, I think, is that it is relatable to so many people because, like you said before, a lot of people struggle to comprehend a statistic unless it's happened to you or someone you know. And the unfortunate situation is, if that's the case, it's too late, because if it happens once, that is a life-changing and impacting other lives off the back of it. So if we can have that impact, make it front of mind, create those relationships, the respectful relationships before there is an incident that close to home, then it's just so much more powerful than looking at an abstract number and waiting for it to have an impact on your life.
Have you guys played in a Carlton Respects before?
Yeah, I think I've been three now. Yeah.
What is it like? What did it feel like? Like, from your experience, because ours is obviously different, but we can talk to ours. What was yours?
It's pretty special because we have the whole week leading into it with a few people coming in. Luke and Daniel from Yaya next door come into the club and talk to us as sort of their story and sort of how domestic violence and sort of the impact it's had on their lives, and it's again eye-opening. Like if you most males in particular are just naive to it. Like you said, you've grown up in a good household and these sort of suburbs, you're like, oh, I'm not prone to anything like this, and then all of a sudden, snap, something can happen. To hear their story and sort of what they've been through and how they're sort of helping the community forward now, and then for us to have the opportunity to play in the Respects game and to put on the orange socks. So, yeah, to see the crowd as well, like not taking ownership, but like they were like grabbed it with both hands as well. They were orange all through the crowd, and yeah, it's pretty special to get it annually, that game. Yeah, something we're really proud of. Yeah. How about you guys for this year? Round 3?
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think last year we had, we had a little guide of honour with some of the kids that had done the program, which was really cool. I think some of the kids were from my school, and they, like, the pride that they have to be able to say that they've been through the program, I think is exactly what we're trying to do with the program. Have these kids be able to relate to how important it is. So for them to be able to stand up there and sort of be able to say that they were a part of the game, I think was really big, and I think that we'll do something similar again this year. So I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, and I think that kind of echoes before we were touching on about like the impact of bringing football into something, and you know, like you could have this classroom education, and yes, like it's important to know, but as soon as you mention Carlton or AFL, like it's just that little extra tick that just gets them a bit excited about it. You know, when their favourite footballers are standing there in the video and, you know, portraying these messages, like they're taking that, like that is the information they want to know and they want to learn and they want to resemble those behaviours. So I think, that's the benefit of having Carlton doing this for the younger generation, is they just soak it up and they want to be a part of it so much more because it's also their favourite footy team's values. So, yeah.
It's also like an acknowledgement piece for people who have been in those positions, have had those experiences. It's sort of like a bit of a validation of like, we see you, we hear.
Yeah.
And as you touched on, like being from such a big AFL club, like to be someone who's had those experiences before and gone through something like that, and to feel like you've been heard and kind of, I guess, given a place to maybe share your story if that's something you feel comfortable doing, or just sort of to be acknowledged, I think is massive. So if you add something like that, or you can give back to people who have been through that experience, not only acknowledging it, but give something back, would be amazing.